All right, guys, welcome to the first episode of the Unplanned Chat Series. I'm here today with my first guest, Patrick Schober. Super happy to have you here. So just right before we start off, thank you for taking the time to be here. I admit it's hard. Usually we have a pretty packed schedule, and I assume you do too. So thanks for taking the time. And just before we get started, would you mind just like introducing yourself? Telling people a bit about who you are, so they know a bit more.
So, hello everyone, my name is Patrick Schober. I'm the driver of the 27WV Racing Ford Mustang. This year was my second year in EuroNASCAR, and yeah, it went pretty well. I'm based in Slovakia, but I'm also from Austria, but I was born in Spain, so it's pretty complicated, I would say. Yeah, I'm 19 years old now, and looking forward for my third season in EuroNASCAR next year.
That's epic. For me, I had my first season this year, so it was definitely a bit of a challenge. But yeah, I noticed you're definitely a good driver. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to battle much with you. I think I had you in front of me in Vallelunga,
Yeah.
but then after two laps, we had a safety car phase. So it is what it is. But you were good at blocking, so we can say that. And I think the results speak for themselves. So what was your path to NASCAR racing? How did you actually get there? Because I feel like every single driver in this championship has like their own sort of like special like story of how they got here. So how did you get here? How did you get to this amazing championship?
Yeah, it's a funny story because 2021 I was still racing in Formula 4 in the Central European zone, and the last race should be in Vallelunga in Italy, where also the EuroNASCAR series had their last race, and so we kind of raced together there on that weekend. But for me, I didn't participate there because I already won the championship, so I had a lot of a lot of points ahead of me. So yeah, there was no chance that the second person in the championship could overtake me again. So I didn't participate in it in that race, but I watched it online on YouTube, and in the background I could see like those EuroNASCAR cars. So I kind of got interested in it, looked it up, like what it is. Also watched the races then, and I saw it's like a pretty big thing with a lot of viewers, a lot of American feeling. So yeah, then in that same year, at the end of the year, it was I think at the start of December, I took the recruitment test in France with the EuroNASCAR, and that was the first time when I ever sat in such a masterpiece of car. You can really say that because that's like real racing still, because without
It is amazing.
control, no ABS, with so yeah, it's pretty amazing. And then I kind of got the contact with my current manager, who's Robert Wagner from Motorsport Active, and yeah, he brought me in because he also had another driver, Alina Leutnega, who's also driving now. And yeah, so then he made a contact to the team, to the current team I'm driving in WV Racing, and yeah, then it turned out that I'll become a EuroNASCAR driver. So yeah, it was pretty amazing. Yeah.
Epic, epic. That's actually quite a cool story. Mine is a bit shorter. I just went from sim racing to your NASCAR racing in like 2 years. So I had a season in a BMW's 318 Ti Cup. I don't know if you've heard of that championship. It's kind of like a small club sport championship, quite popular in Germany, because it is a German championship after all. But yeah, I raced there for like a year, and right after that year, again recruitment test. So some parallels there. I got in the car, and I got into the car with like no expectations. I was like, okay, this is just a huge hunk of metal. We see these things driving in ovals, but I don't know what the differences are between American NASCAR and European NASCAR. I don't know if this thing is good for road course usage. Let's just test it out. Let's see what it's like. And the first few corners, I was blown away by just the amount of grip the car had. And especially coming from a touring car that was pretty much just like a road legal car turned into a race car, I was blown away. And so for me, it was like a night and day experience. So my question to you is coming from a Formula racing background, what are the differences? Because like you're missing a lot of downforce, and you're relying a lot on mechanical grip. And I can imagine like driving these cars is like completely two polar opposites. So
Yeah,
it's probably quite a switch up.
yeah, it definitely was from racing, I think 3 years or maybe even more, 4 or even 5 years in Formula classes, and then jumping into a beast like that. It's obviously bigger, longer, and everything. You only see this much from
Yeah,
the car, and yeah, so it was quite tricky to like get used to it first, but after some practice, I got used to it and got comfortable in it. But it wasn't that hard, I would say, because it's still a race car. It has more power, yeah. So it kind of goes loose much quicker than a Formula car, and it also has no grip. And unfortunately, that day, the whole day was only rain,
oh
so I
god.
only so yeah. But then after a few laps, after more and more, and then I also took a preseason test in Italy. So then I got already comfortable with it, and yeah, now it's like no thing. It's like driving a bicycle.
That's epic. That's epic. I mean, driving in the wet was unfortunately not my first experience with the EuroNASCAR, or maybe I should say fortunately because I had a bit of grip. But yeah, I love wet conditions because it's like it's a perfect way for you to like learn. And like I'm barely ever in wet conditions, so whenever I get into wet conditions, it's always like a new experience to me. So yeah, it's always a bit hit or miss. I mean, in Brands Hatch, it was all right for me, but I had a bit of bad luck there with the clutch. And
Yeah.
in Moss, it was just pain. I don't know if you saw my accident, but I plowed into I think it was Thomas Dombrowski
Mhm.
because I just couldn't see him, and then all of a sudden he hit the brakes.
Well,
So rain is definitely a very touchy subject for me, but
yeah.
I think racing in the rain is pretty fun. And have you ever like raced with a Formula car in the rain? Because like I can imagine it's probably like even harder because the thing aquaplanes at low speeds. Am I right?
Yeah, I mean, I did race a couple of times in the rain, and yeah, I also do like rain because like there the driver shows like what he can do, like how he can manage to like drive fast but also safe in the rain. So yeah, it's a difference between driving a NASCAR in the rain and also a Formula car, because with the NASCAR you have to rely on the windshield, that even the wiper works, because sometimes it just doesn't. You maybe know that. And yeah, in the Formula car you basically sit outside, I would say, like with the helmet outside. So it's much easier, but yeah, it's also very loose, the Formula car. It like swims on the water sometimes.
So it's kind of like boating, I guess.
Yeah.
It's more akin to boating, I guess. Yeah, but definitely the windshield wiper issue is an issue that I had quite often as well. Like even in Moss, mine was functioning, but even with the windshield wiper functioning, it was just kind of flailing around. Like it wasn't really like clearing up my view or anything. But at the end of the day, that's what we drivers have to go through in racing.
Yeah.
So racing in this championship, I think, is quite amazing. As I said, unfortunately, I was not able to share the track much with you. But what were your ups and downs throughout the season? Take me through it because I also had quite a lot of challenges. But I think you had some even larger challenges and some even greater successes with the first places that you had. Your first EuroNASCAR win, which I think is it's quite an achievement, and you should be very proud of yourself. So just take us through that, like through the ups and downs. What were the complete depths that you faced and the complete like highs that you faced?
Yeah, I learned probably one thing, that it's always like every race can be different, because from the start of the season, it's the first race went like really good. Like that was until then it was my best race, where I fought with the with the previous championship leader, who was Martin Dubek.
I
Uh,
saw that. It was a pretty good battle, just like rubbing and
yeah,
racing. Yeah.
yeah. So that was really good. But then, unfortunately, in Brands Hatch, I had that issue with the gearbox where the
Yeah.
car just shifted it from. I was shifting from second to third, but I don't really know what happened, because I did the exact same movement each and every time I do it, but it went into the first gear. So I slowed down, and then unfortunately, your teammate.
Yeah. I saw that. It was quite a tough impact for him and for you.
Yeah.
You know, it was
Yeah.
definitely tough.
So unfortunately, then we had that incident where I couldn't also drive the next day on Sunday. But yeah, then also in Italy, there I had to unfortunately start from the pit, but like 21 cars in I think 15 laps were racing was like, so there I told myself that the crash, that it can't stop me. Like I have to perform if I want to drive also next year and also compete in the championship still. But yeah, so each and every race has its up and downs because it really also relies on luck pretty much because yeah, not every time the car is like perfectly, I would say, because for example in the rain the windshield wiper and you basically can't see anything, or yeah, maybe some mechanical issue can just appear and then you just can't do anything. But I think this season pretty much for me, at least the second half of the season was pretty good. I had a couple of podiums there, even a win. So yeah, I'm going positive into the next season, I would say.
That's definitely amazing. And with the mischiefs, you don't have to feel bad because I had the same experience this year. Fortunately, it wasn't at like a dangerous corner or anything, but in fact, it was a free practice in Oschersleben where I kind of over revved the engine because I went into the wrong gear. And I also have no clue how it happened, but I just assume, going laps and laps around the circuit, you know how the entire bottom of the car is like exposed. I feel
Yeah.
like sometimes gravel gets into like the shift linkage, and I think that's when you sometimes accidentally go into gear. So that's probably what happened because it was the same thing, same feeling for me where I was like, how, how, how did this happen? Because I'm doing the same move in every single lap, but that's just racing, man. As you said, sometimes good luck, sometimes bad luck. Vallelunga was also a bit of a challenge for me because in the first race in Vallelunga, I had the issue that my throttle pedal actually got detached from like a throttle rod.
Oh.
So there's like a screw that connects to the actual pedal, and that screw somehow broke. So I ended up having to jam my foot between the chassis and the pedal and push the rod in to actually keep accelerating. And that's how I finished the race. So for me, it was the most exhilarating and the most tiring race ever, especially because I had a lot of foot pain because I have like a lot of like issues with my tendons. I've ripped my tendons 4 times in a row, so I have like paper ankles. So yeah, I definitely know those challenges. They're quite hard, but I can imagine getting that first place. What did that feel like? Because that's probably like an absolutely amazing, stunning feeling going through those hard times and then finally winning your first race.
Yeah. Um, how should I say, like it was totally unexpected, to be honest, the race win, because starting from P5 I had great drivers in front of me. Yeah, I had Jufro, NASCAR, Lindsler in front of me, all really good drivers. But then, uh, for my luck, that was, I think, the one race where I had luck. I mean, yeah, nobody wishes another driver that he spins out or crashes, but yeah, it did happen that day, and I chose the right line because everyone overtook him from the outside, at least the guys who were in front of me, and I was the first one who overtook him in the inside. I mean, NASCAR who spun out on the exit of turn one, and then I already was in P3, and I had Capelli in front of me. I knew that, yeah, okay, I can manage to overtake him because I overtook him already a couple of times in that season. And then suddenly I was in P2, and now I only told myself, okay, either I go home as a winner or as a loser. So I gave everything, and then even my spotter told me that Lindster, the car number 50, has a drive-through penalty. So I could have just stayed behind him and just let him drive into the pits, but me, no, I'm not like that. I just want it like that because I had pressure from behind from the 18 from Capelli. And I just wanted to prove to everyone that, like, hey, even without a penalty, I can still manage to secure this win. And so I did. And yeah, so that was like a dream, I would say, that day. But yeah, like coming from that, and last year, when I finished, I think my best finish was like not even P5, I think P6 or P7. And now managing the race win, yeah, it feels amazing. Like it takes off the pressure from you because like, hey, you managed to win a race, so you can do it again as well. And yeah, so it feels amazing. You need to try it as well.
Definitely, I mean, that's always my goal, you know. For me, it was a mixture of like lack of experience in Oschersleben, and just in general, like bad luck as well. Like
Yeah.
in Valencia, I had my throttle pedal stuck too. I had that issue in Vallelunga. In Brands Hatch in the first race, I just wasn't able to participate because my clutch went out in the formation lap.
Oh,
Because pretty much when we were in the formation lap, I don't know if you realize it or if you also stuck in that pile somewhere, but all of a sudden, like the entire like car just stopped there. And
yeah.
when I was like trying to like get the car going again, I burnt out the clutch. And
Oh,
so after that like next lap, I noticed immediately that the clutch was completely burnt out and it was just slipping. And it kept slipping until it was like completely like the gearbox was completely detached. So I could just go through the gears while giving full throttle, and the car just didn't do anything. And then I just had to kind of go, and then I just put it somewhere in the grass and call it a day.
yeah.
And then in Oschersleben, I made a few mistakes myself, colliding with my teammate, and then with Romagnoli in the next race because I was very hot headed that race weekend. I had the same kind of mindset where I was like, either you go home as I don't know top 10 or you go home as nothing.
Yeah.
And sometimes, for me at least, it's the wrong mindset. But for you, it won't, which is definitely a pro. But that's just how racing is. I mean, you learn, you make mistakes, and I'm hopeful that someday I might get my first win. Do you think that's possible? Just like I don't know if you see me race, but just your honest opinion.
Yeah, I mean, for sure it is. You just have to keep on trying, like doing your best, which you obviously do. But yeah, this was your first season, so next season you will have like constantly top 10, I think. Because you have like more experience with the car, also with the track, also oval for the first time. That will be pretty
Raceway Venere, yeah.
interesting. Yeah. So yeah, I'm pretty sure that next season, it will go better and better.
And whilst we're on the topic of advice, I get this question like asked super frequently by my friends. I don't know if you get this question too, but a lot of people ask me like, okay, what does it actually take to be a racing driver? Because I mean, I see your posts on Instagram and I see you in the live stream and oh, he's there and he's here and you look like you're living the dream, but is it really that easy? And just I always give them my sort of piece of cake and I say, well, okay, these are the challenges, this is what it takes. What is your advice for someone that's trying to get into racing, especially with sim racing becoming more and more popular? Do you see that as a viable option? And if you were to restart from zero, where would you restart, and what advice would you give?
Yeah, I mean, the best thing is to start as young as possible in go-kart racing and just work your way up. But yeah, unfortunately, in this time, it's like really hard to get like really so far because everything is so expensive. And when you were not like very wealthy, I would say, or like don't have the contacts for the sponsors, like really hard to even survive here. It doesn't matter if you're good or bad or anything. But yeah, that's the truth, I would say. But the advice I would just give you then, that yeah, just always just like show them what you got. Like always do your best. Always keep the rhythm in you. Like always try to finish as best as possible. And then you just have to see if some teams maybe or some sponsors are interested in you, and then just choose the right path. Like Formula racing, GT racing, NASCAR. You just have to make the right decision in the right time. and then just work your way up on that in that racing series. And yeah, I do get the question also quite a lot. So yeah, for me, I would say I don't want to say it was really easy, but because my family has its own company, like who worked with cars, like we have a event company where we do like stuff with Formula cars and race cars. So I also learned from a pretty young age to learn how to drive a normal car. I think with 8, I could already manage to like drive.
That's amazing.
So, so yeah, and then also I was pretty lucky because I had the opportunity because the season I raced in Formula 4, that was actually our Formula 4 car. So yeah, for me it was, I would say, easier than for the most kids out there. But still now I would say I'm stuck because I really can't afford to like move higher to America, but also I see a problem in next year's season, so I just hope for a sponsor now. Yeah, but yeah, we'll see how it turns out.
Definitely a relatable issue. I mean, as I said in the beginning, before we start this podcast, viewers that are watching as well know, but yeah, sponsorship is extremely hard, and even me, like I'm working hard to like get partners because I mean we both just know how hard this is, and I think
Yeah,
that is, in my opinion as well, like one of the greatest challenges. Like you can be Michael Schumacher in, you know, I don't know, a reincarnation of Michael Schumacher, but somehow not make it because you just don't have the right connections or the right mindset to make those connections. And
yeah,
I think that's the most difficult part about racing, to even get to a certain point where you can actually like make money from it. And I think this is a part that like most people don't get. But this is where I like to dream, where I like to say, if you had all the money in the world, right, and let's not say all the money. Let's say if you had like the greatest sponsors that are going to back you, and you had a choice to race somewhere in a championship and to make that your living, where would you race? Because I feel like a lot of drivers here, they want to get to the US, but I also see a lot of drivers that are also interested in like different types of racing, like GT prototypes and all that type of stuff. Because I mean, racing is a very like wide genre. I mean, we can go from racing to oval racing to formula racing, and it's all like
yeah.
completely different, but it's still racing. So, what would you do if you had all opportunities?
Good question. I mean, there would be like a lot, but I think my like top 3, or I don't even know how to say it, would be like also the US, either NASCAR or IndyCar as well, but also like you said, the prototype series. But for me, like the top 1 spot is sharing the US, like with NASCAR and IndyCar. So yeah, I would like to race there. And what about you?
Yeah, for me, it's I don't know. I'm one of those guys. I like everything a bit, but most importantly, I like the raw nature of racing. So I would actually see myself in vintage racing, maybe. I mean, probably a bit of vintage racing and stock car racing. Like if I had all the partners in the world, I would take it to the US. I would take it to the Cup Series, no doubt. But as well, I'll say like kind of as a hobby or in my free time, I would race vintage cars because you know my favorite car. Like if I had all the funds, I would get a Ferrari 250 GTO. I'm pretty sure you know the 250
Yeah.
GTO is very legendary. And I'm just a big fan of vintage racing, so that's like probably what I would go for as a, you know, as a car NASCAR racing driver, just enjoying that like raw nature. Because I feel like compared to GT4 and GT3, I've never tested one of these cars, so I'm not going to talk down on them. But I can imagine that racing the NASCAR is more fun just because of the fact that you don't have, you know, any of these driver aids, and it's just a real challenge. Like I noticed it in Valencia the first time because last year when I raced, I had ABS in my car, and in Valencia, you know, it was the first time that I was actually like in competition racing a vehicle without ABS. And in free practice, I ended up screwing, I think, 2 sets of tires because that like last corner before you go to the start finish straight is like kind of blind, and I never knew where to hit the brakes. And then I always got to the point where I was braking too late, and then winded up locking the tires. And then you look at the tires after the session, you were like, yeah, these are toast.
Yeah.
But then on the flip side, once you get it perfect, and once you get it perfect every single lap, you have such an appreciation for the lack of driver aids that it's just like, you just couldn't think of racing with them, because it's weird to me, But yeah, definitely even when I sim race and I race GT3s, I don't even like use driver aids. I mean, I don't know if you sim race and if you sim race if you use driver aids, but I don't even use them in sim racing.
I do sim race, but I also like to turn them off because it's just like more realistic, I would say, and I can also learn out of it more.
Definitely. Like, as I said, even like racing GT3 cars, I turn it off. So often when I'm like racing somewhere online, like Sim Racing System, I don't know if you've heard of Sim Racing System.
No,
It's
no.
it's a bit, I'm gonna say loosely, like iRacing before Assetto Corsa. And often when I race there, I will just be like, okay, screw it. I don't care if the other guy's got traction control and ABS on. I'm turning it off. I'm turning it down, And but yeah, anyway, whilst we're on the topic of sim racing, another really interesting question where I get a lot of different answers is, what is your preferred like kind of viewing experience? Do you like monitors, like triple monitor, single monitor, or would you go for VR? Because I definitely know what I would go for, but a lot of people are like not very fond of that option. So what do you like usually go for when it comes to sim racing?
For me, unfortunately, I only have one screen, one small screen. I would say like a PC screen, but yeah, either I would say three monitors because from the VR, it's like okay, it's more real. I would say it is. I mean, it's just like hey, you're in the car almost, but my eyes would hurt, so I prefer the three monitors. But yeah, so the three monitors for me, it's just also for the steering wheel, I can more see it, and I have like a Formula style steering wheel, so and I have every button set for everything, so I always also look at it, and so I can do that. Yeah.
Yeah, so you can pretty much have it all like matched up and stuff. Yeah, I'm one of those unique guys. I race primarily in VR. So I started with like a super old TV on a PlayStation 4. And then when I was saving up for my PC, I saved up for a VR headset as well. And that's all I race on. But I just thought it was going to be a super interesting question to ask, because I feel like a lot of people are like against VR, and I feel like I'm the only one that uses it. So yeah. Um, we were talking about VR and all that type of stuff. So I would like to go back now to the beginning of this interview slash chat series. You talked about being like multicultural. I also have a bit of a multicultural background, being half Brazilian, being half German.
Yeah.
What is that background like? Like I can imagine that being a few parallels. So just like tell us a bit about that. What is it like being multicultural? You mentioned you were born in Spain, but as far as I'm aware, you're Austrian. So is there like a mixture in your genetics as well, or are you like purely Austrian? Just like share some information about
Yeah, so basically, I was my first five years that I was born on here on this planet, where I was living down in Barcelona in Spain, and yeah, you don't have to like talk to me in Spanish or Portuguese because I have no idea what
it.
to talk about. So unfortunately, I don't know anything. I could when I was younger, but not anymore because I just don't use it. But yeah, now I do live my like 12 years since 12 years now. I live in Slovakia, also go to school and everything. But I am also Austrian because my father is from the Austrian part, and so I have quite a big family also there, and also quite often go to Austria. And to make it even more funnier, my current girlfriend, is from Hungary, so it's pretty mixed up. Um, but yeah, like I like it. I like to be, on two sides of countries. But yeah, for the future, I want to go and live in Austria. So yeah. I do feel there at home, even though I live now in Slovakia. It's just I want to be there more.
So pretty much, if you could choose like your dream country to live in for the rest of your life, it would just be Austria.
I guess, yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
if I would have the money, I would go to Los Angeles, but I don't have
Okay,
it.
sick.
So I live in Austria then, yeah.
Amazing. Have you ever been to Los Angeles? Never, I assume, right?
No, never. I wish I would go one day, but I haven't. No.
Great place to go. I mean, I've been there like for like a really short period of time. I think it was 2 days. I went to San Francisco for Christmas back in 2019, and I don't know if you've ever like played GTA before,
Yeah.
but as a GTA player, I arrived there and I was actually stunned by how similar it was to the actual GTA game. So it was yeah, it was quite a shock to be driving by the Eclipse Towers, going, "Wait, this is
Yeah.
where I live in GTA Online."
Exactly, yeah.
But like yeah, definitely the U.S. is an absolutely amazing country, and of course the freaking birthplace of NASCAR racing. So yeah, I think you should definitely be there. And is that one of your goals to like watch Daytona 500 as well? Because for me, it definitely is one of my goals. I've never been to the U.S. for a race. I've only been there for like yeah, just Christmas and visiting friends. So it's definitely like one of my goals to be there at the next Daytona 500. Could I see you there as well? Is that a possibility?
I have to save money for the next season, so probably not not next year. But yeah, I wish I would once go there. Or best thing I think also for you, like you would also want that to actually drive there, like in the
Definitely.
Unplanned Art Series or Truck Series, Xfinity, or Cup Series, who knows? But yeah, even to just experience it one day, I would love to go there. Yeah.
That's amazing. And whilst we're on the topic of racing there, have you raced there in the sim as well? Or are you more of like a road course racer in the sim?
Um, I do quite both, but more I'm concentrating on that road course. But even oval, I do quite often or sometimes. Yeah.
That's great. That's great. And like for me, oval is like very interesting because I've never actually like tried an oval really. I tried an Assetto Corsa a bit, but like, what do you think are the greatest like differences and challenges in oval racing? Because a lot of people say, I mean, you're only turning in one direction, but we all know that even though you're just turning in one direction, there's a lot of complexity in doing that. So, what do you think are the main differences? And if you were to set up a car for oval racing, what do you think the main differences would be in setup?
Yeah, with the setup, I would say like I don't know how to say it in English, but the wheels, because what I see from the simulator, like the car always wants to turn, always wants to turn left.
Yeah.
But yeah, so honestly I have no idea what about the setup there. Uh, it's just I just know that it always wants to go left the car. But yeah, then the difference or like what the thing is in all racing, the cars or the drivers are like so so much so close together at such a high speed that it's kind of like a fear, but also like such a relief, or I don't know how to say it, because when you like wreck, you just know that it's gonna happen at a high speed. But when you
It's
don't,
gonna be a big one, yeah.
but when you don't, it's just like, hey, I made it now, just made it again. But also difficulty is that uh, during qualifying, like there's not such a big gap as we usually have. So you can drive, you can say to yourself, hey, I did really good, but in reality, you're on place 30 or something. So yeah, it's a quite close battle, and really door to door or wheel to wheel battles. It's great to watch. I mean, yeah.
It's for yeah. Same thing for me. I mean, to be fair, I actually do kind of enjoy oval racing like a lot to the point where it sometimes surpasses road course racing, and that's quite a controversial opinion, especially here in Europe. But I just think it's amazing just because of the close door-to-door fights, as you said, all that slipstreaming and all that strategy that comes into play. I think it's just super fascinating, and it's like a completely different world in racing. So this is why I want to ask you next year, Raceway Venray. It's the first time since ages that it's going to be on the calendar. So first of all, what are your goals for the rest of the season in terms of positioning? And if you were to guess and foreshadow, what do you think that you could achieve in Raceway Venray as like your first oval race? I'm guessing.
Yeah, it definitely will be my first oval race, and I'm quite excited about it. But yeah, I don't expect really much. I mean, I expect like top 10, maybe top 5, but there are also people driving that already did quite a lot of oval racing also in the US, but also in the past before it got off from the calendar. Now that it's back in, it will be quite a challenge because, as you said, for me it's the first time. So yeah, I'm pretty excited about it. And about the next season, yeah, I definitely want to try and win the championship because now it's my turn. I want that really bad. But yeah, we'll see what it has got for me. The only thing I need to do is just to start the season as best as I can and just to work my way up and more with the points. So yeah, just like I just want to win the championship or at least top 3. But the main goal, obviously, also for you, is to win the championship. Yeah,
definitely. It's always the goal at some point. I mean, for me, it was also the rookie championship this year, but unfortunately, due to my injury, it was a bit of a unfortunate impossibility. But it is what it is. I hurt myself whilst deadlifting in the gym, and those are just things that sometimes happen. Um, I mentioned earlier that I have quite weak ligaments, so I'll just say, yeah, it was my foot that said goodbye on that day. But yeah, these are completely like difficult situations, completely different situations with Raceway Venray as well. I think just absolutely like nuts racing on an oval. I can't imagine what it's like, and I'm also like super stoked, super excited. And I just love the fact that the EuroNASCAR Championship is like starting to like diversify their race calendar more and more. Like I would just love it if we had like new circuits like every single year, like maybe one or two, not changing it up too much, but like switching it up a bit so we have a bit of that diversity. And another circuit I would really love to see on the calendar would be Spa.
Yeah.
Because your NASCAR raced in Spa a while ago, and that's definitely like my favorite circuit. So next question out to you: if you were to switch up the EuroNASCAR calendar, what circuits would you change and what circuits would you add?
I would probably, for all the Spanish fans, I'm sorry, but Valencia, I would put that aside and replace it with like Red Bull Ring because that's probably my favorite track. Because fun fact, my grandpa lives like 3 minutes away from the track, so I always pass by it when I go to him. So yeah, I wish that would be there. Or yeah, like you said, Spa would be also interesting with Orouge driving in that car. I mean, I can't imagine it, but it would be
Same
fun.
thing.
So yeah, and probably also the only track we have in Slovakia, the Slovakia ring, that would be also quite good because during the season I'm like once a week there, once a week driving there for half an hour, so I know every single rock there, uh, which is named. So yeah, so I think there I would have also a good chance.
Definitely, and I think Red Bull Ring is also a circuit that I would say hi to. I mean, Red Bull Ring is quite a nice track. I've always wanted to watch F1 there. Never really got the chance to do it. I don't know if you ever been there for F1,
Yeah.
but definitely amazing circuit I want to be at. And yeah, definitely just a fun experience. And I think if we could switch around the year NASCAR calendar and add that in, I would welcome it with open arms. Another track again going back to that like home track kind of idea that I would welcome into the calendar would be the Sachsenring.
Mm-hmm.
Because similar to you, I live like 10 minutes away from it, and it's a circuit that I practiced at quite a lot last year. So again, next question: how important do you think practice is? Like, how much do you think that practice actually makes a difference? We chatted about talent being important. We chatted about money being important. How much do you think practice plays a role? And how much do you think that practice and money together plays a role? Because of course, practicing also costs a bit.
Yeah, so as I already mentioned, that my family has its own company with like those racing cars and stuff like that. We actually also have a EuroNASCAR, so for me, I can basically practice, as I said, once a week. I'm on the track with that car for like half an hour, and I do believe it's really important because you just learn and get to know the car just more and more, get comfortable in it, get like really one with the car. So yeah, it is really important, and yeah, so for me, I'm, I have the luck that I only need to transport the car, pay the fuel, maybe sometimes change the tires, and just pay the track. So yeah, I'm quite lucky in that. I know, unfortunately, some other drivers don't have that, but yeah. So practice is really important, and especially in a car like that, which has no ABS, no traction control. It's just like pure racing, and uh, with the body like that, with uh, no grip, I would almost say it's important to like learn and to be as much as on the track as possible.
Definitely. I mean, and I can probably imagine that if we did have a race at the Slovakia ring, I might have to be careful because you'd probably be lapping us. Yeah.
No, yeah,
With all that practice at a circuit, I know definitely like for me, I'm a bit of a kart racer. I don't race it like on like a proper national level. I did like half a season of the Rotax Max Challenge, but I live a few minutes away from a local kart track called the Arena E, and also being there and practicing, and having driven there every single time, you start using like little like flowers as breaking points.
yeah.
So that is how well you know the circuit, and I can imagine that, especially with the EuroNASCAR, that plays a huge role. And I think probably the guys that are up front, not only are they the most talented, but they're probably the guys with the most experience in the car. And so here comes my next question. What do you think is the difference in like practice time between your NASCAR 2 and your NASCAR Pro? And what do you think are like the main differences in terms of how the drivers drive? Because we've seen it quite often in the past, especially this season, that your NASCAR 2 tends to be a bit more action rich than your NASCAR Pro in terms of contact and that type of
Yeah.
stuff. Do you think this has something to do with practice as well, and how much the Pro and your NASCAR 2 drivers practice?
Yeah, so I think most of the EuroNASCAR Pro drivers are like at least 3 years in that series, but also like in the EuroNASCAR 2. But it does also have to do a lot of with the practice and also with patience, I would also say, and also like the will to like, hey, I want to do it. I want to make a name out of me in EuroNASCAR so that everyone remembers me. So yeah, I think in the EuroNASCAR 2, there's like more fighting going on because I think I mean, you could say it's easier to win almost
Yeah,
than the
almost
pro,
kind of, yeah.
because in the pro it's just like a much higher level. You have more experienced race drivers who like not attack just always when they have an opportunity, but they attack only when they know it will stick. And in your NASCAR too, it's like they attack always. They see a gap, they go for it.
It's it's like Senna said back in the day, and if you no longer go for a gap, you're no longer a racing driver. But sometimes, if you're too aggressive with that, it doesn't end well.
Yeah.
So definitely something that I agree with, and that's probably the reason why it happens a bit more often in your NASCAR too as well. So yeah, I've got to say I've run out of questions at this point. So unless you have any questions for me, um, I would just end it here, and I would say thanks to all the viewers for watching. Thanks for Patrick for just sharing his opinions, sharing his experiences, and who he is as a person. And I think it was an absolutely good first series. And yeah, tune in more for the unplanned chat or the unplanned podcast. The entire idea of this show is to do everything unscripted. So I come here without scripts and I ask questions, and we chat very honestly and very openly without cutting or editing much out. So in that case, guys, thanks for watching. Thanks, Patrick, for being here. And I don't know. Do you have anything else to say for the fans, or should I end it here?
Yeah, I just hope that next year we both see us on the track in the same series, maybe, or I don't know. Maybe I'll even change for the pro. We'll see if I even drive. I have no idea. But yeah, I hope to see you and also your fans, also the fans, on the track. So yeah, it was fun. I enjoyed this interview really, and yeah, I hope to see us soon again. Yeah.
Same thing here. I'll try my best to be on track next year, and I think that I have good chances to be there, and hopefully we can share the track together.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
In that case, thanks for the interview. Thanks, guys, for watching. Peace out. Bye-bye.